If I asked you what an operating model is, what would you say? Not to put you on the spot here, but generally, like, what would your first thoughts be if I said, what is an operating model?
Great question. Operating model, I guess the central um, way that you sell and deliver services.
Pretty, very succinct, and yes, pretty much, right? But I'll make it easier to understand, because I'd always believed that the operating model was, it was just the delivery function of a business. And that was kind of everything that you needed to know about operating models. Turns out, according to this consultant, there are three parts of an operating model. So imagine a triangle. I'm doing this with my hands for the listeners. So at the top of the triangle, you've got creating value, the proposition of the business. That's a lot of the stuff that we spent a lot of time on, right? The bottom right part of the triangle is delivering that value, right? And then the bottom left is capturing that value. So you have proposition top, delivering on the bottom right, and then capturing pricing on the bottom left. Where I think a lot of companies go wrong is they focus on one or two parts of the triangle. We were focusing so much, a disgusting amount of time on the top of the triangle, but we weren't changing anything about how we delivered our projects or how we even priced our projects. And so for the first time ever, only 18 months ago, we decided to not tell the world about how we were different, but actually build in the background with a CFO and a consultant how we should build our delivery function differently and capture our pricing differently as well. And it was only until we did those two things that everything changed.
Yeah, makes total sense. Those three things absolutely have to go together, because like you can say all the ways you're different, but unless it's reflected in the actual way that you deliver or the offering itself, and there's something of substance behind it, then it's just marketing, right? So, and then also, if you are truly committing to that model, then we do need to re-engineer the way that we value, price, the service as well. So I'm loving that so far. What happened from there?
So from there, we decided to write out 3 different ICPs, or ideal client personas, and committed to the ICP and said, okay, just like we found empathy with our audience, if we were that ICP, what problems, challenges, and growth ambitions do they have? And so we spent a lot of time working out those problems. And then after that, we go, okay, fine. We found out our ICP, for example, one of them is scale up creative companies that are perhaps from 5 million top line revenue all the way to 120 million top line revenue. Their challenges are they probably don't have a strong enough head of talent to work across all their disciplines. They're probably struggling with their margin. They're trying to make sure they have the right people in the right places, but can't. Maybe there's a churn problem there. They probably have a freelance issue where they're worried about the quality of the talent. Sometimes they might bring people in, they might not be good enough, and therefore they'd lose margin or even the client sometimes. So we'd really fall in love with their problems, basically. And then from that, we then went, okay, fine. So if you were to design products that would just make their lives so much easier, how would they look? And that's where we started to figure out, okay, they probably have like a bench of talent at any point, wherever in the world. Okay, one of our ICPs are North American agencies. North American agencies have a bit of a problem right now, which is the revenue is amazing, but the cost base is just as amazing as well. So you've got this problem where the no matter how much revenue they make, the cost is still as high as the revenue. So the margin doesn't change. What can they do? Well, what they can do is they can offshore and they can resource talent in Europe or the UK. The salaries are lower here, and therefore the margin will then get wider and bigger. So what can we do? Well, we can build a global freelance talent bench where they can have access and we can have duplications of the talent. So if they want to book someone they're already booked, then they can have the person that's either just as good or even better on that bench. The other thing is, if we can do that with 5 versions of that company, then we can scale that because it's only one work stream. So if we're building these talent pools, and that talent pool is appropriate for more than one client, that's one work stream you can get paid for 5 times. So that's what the first product that we sort of kicked out. And bearing in mind, we were exec search, right? So we've applied exec search thinking to building freelance talent pools because we know, and there's a stat, by 2030, 50% of the global workforce in all industries is likely to be freelance. So if you're not thinking about freelance solutions for your clients, you should be. And if you are, how can you make them so irresistible that they have to go for them? The first thing was the quality of talent. That's what we focused on. But the second thing is how much it costs. I know it's the cardinal sin in recruitment to charge anything less than 15%. But if we did, how could we make our margin increase? By finding duplications of clients that could share a talent pool. So that was our first product where we thought, oh, actually, that could be really exciting. And then I won't go through every single one of them, but there are 9 products, but they sit in
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. All of the products are for different problems. And the point of building a product suite is it's not to productize your services. And this takes a bit of time to get your head around. I think professional services companies, when they get told they have to build a product or a platform, end up putting a wrapper around a thing like a workshop. A product is not a well-branded process. If you're branding a process, it's just a process. It's not a product. The difference between a product and a process is I can walk out of the factory with the product. I can't walk out of the factory with a process. So by charging me for a workshop yes, okay, that's an elevated version of your service, but it doesn't mean the product is any different. I still just hire a person. Do you see the difference? Whereas if part of that product was better interview systems, a new, advisory on which ATS system I should be using, a multitude of different things that I can embed like a consultancy would give me, then that is a product that I can take out of the factory. So as we went on to build out our product suite, we wanted to make sure that we weren't just productizing our processes and really offering things to our clients that they can then walk out the factory with, to carry on with that analogy.